So, guys, the next presentation will be held by a company called Conidia Bioscience. And our next speaker represents a company that celebrates 20 years of supporting the development, manufacture, and supply of fuel tests into aviation, marine, and ground sectors. Our suite of tests detects microbiological contamination at point of use designed for middle distillate fuels using a fast, easy to use immunoassay antibody technology that gives results in minutes and comes with a digital platform, FUELSTAT. Result to record the results in the field digitally. So we already have actually two speakers from this company, David Armitage and Pierre Poitras.
Excellent. Hello and welcome everybody. Firstly, on behalf of everybody at Conidia Bioscience, we hope that you, your families, and your fellow colleagues are safe and well during the strange times that we live in currently. I am David Armitage. I'm based here in the UK, as already mentioned, where it's just gone 5 AM and I am already on my second cup of coffee. You already know that I'll be joined by my esteemed colleague, Pierre Poitras, over in Canada, where it has only just actually turned Thursday. So we have a little over 14 minutes to take you on a journey of a topic of growing concern within the industry. A topic which ordinarily would take years to study if you were to do it properly. So please bear with us. This is very much just a snapshot. Not only is the world collectively tackling the current COVID pandemic, which has created its own concerns within the marine industry, but the marine industry itself has unfortunately had a number of other issues which it's had to overcome. The implementation of IMO 2020, which has led to huge investments by fuel suppliers and vessel owners alike in order to try and be compliant. The last thing you currently need is another issue. However, there is an issue which, if monitored, can be easily remedied. If not, it can lead to serious problems and huge costs, something you don't want to worry about at these times. To help protect the environment, a number of things have also happened. OEMs have been forced to make engines more efficient and produce less emissions. We already all know about the reductions in sulfur as a result of the IMO 2020. But also there's also been the incorporation of bio content in various fuel grades. Given the complex nature of the global fuel supply system, keeping even the smallest traces of FAME out of bio-free fuel is a very difficult task. And as a result, creates a concern and a problem. I will now hand over to Pierre, who will talk you through this problem.
Thank you very much, Dave. As you just alluded to, the consequences of the recent and future environmental regulations, mainly in the use of first generation, but also now second generation biofuels, have introduced to different degrees the use of FAME, which is fatty acid metal esters, which is commonly known as biodiesel, into the marketplace. So it is evident over the last couple of years that the chemistry of marine fuel is changing. There are new blending components to lower the overall sulfur content of fuel and to reduce the shipping industry carbon intensity. Efforts that are applauded, but with potential consequences with respect to fuel handling practices. As you may know, since January 2005, in the emission control areas, sulfur content has been limited to 0.1% maximum. More recently, through the effort of IMO 2020 and other seas area, we are limiting the sulfur content of fuel, including residual fuel, to 0.5% maximum. And since 2017, the ISO 8217, which is the specification for marine fuel, has allowed up to 7% FAME material in the MGO grade. Those grades are defined as the DFA, DFZ, DFB. DF stands for FAME. So basically, FAME is gradually, similarly to the ground transportation industry, coming into the marine world, into our fuel supply chain. And as we speak today, there is consideration for increased biofuel content and residual fuel. And we're talking greater than 25%, in some cases up to 40 and 50%, in order to reduce our carbon intensity, to introduce these renewable, sustainable fuel into the marine fuel industry. And that comes with some challenges, some cost impacts, some supply fuel issues. And I'm part of the group that manages the ISO 8217 specification. And one of the things that we are concerned with, concerned in a positive way by introducing these new biofuel, is basically to ensure that there's no negative impact in terms of fuel stability, performance of the fuel at low temperature, and possibly inhibit and prevent contaminant to be formed, precipitation to be formed in storage tank or shipborne equipment. And more specifically, in our case here, that we're addressing is microbiological growth. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But over the past few years, even the DMA, DMZ grade are all susceptible to microbiological growth as a result of a complex marine fuel supply chain. Next, please, Dave. So just to give you an example, in 2013-14, there was a global survey with the participation of Lloyd's Register and others, where we sampled MGO DMA fuel at ports worldwide. There was over 2,000 samples taken around the globe. And despite the fact that the specification requires that the MGO DMA fuel is FAME-free with a de minimis level of 0.5%, 5% of these samples showed a FAME concentration ranging anywhere between 0.5 and 7%. And actually, there was one sample that shows 57% of biodiesel content. So this is all to say that your contract and your fuel that you uplift, that you bunker, might be sold as a specific grade with specific quality and properties. But despite that, there might be some other material creeping in there that may be not as desirable as you want it to be. Next, please. So as an example here, and by the way, please note that all biofuel produced does not all contain FAME. The sustainable renewable fuel that is produced today typically does not contain FAME. And we're not trying to put down FAME, but we're conscious that FAME may bring in the marketplace some challenges. So the bottom line is that some of these samples that was part of the survey were quite easy, as you can see here. They're not clear and bright, and that is because of the moisture content, the concentration of water into these samples. In a nutshell, for non-chemists out there, the greater the FAME content, the biodiesel content, the greater potential water retention and the concentration of water. Next, please. So what are we trying to prevent here is that in presence of water and fuel systems, you will have some microorganisms that will grow. And that's just the nature of things. When fuel is produced at a refinery and throughout the supply chain, as soon as it comes in contact with air, there's some spores that find its way into the fuel. And there's no issue there, but if you give them the right condition with the right nutrients, they will grow. and they will grow in fuel, and they will degrade fuel, and they will contaminate your fuel system. And that's what we're trying to prevent here, because in presence of water and free water for any extended period of time, you'll have bacteria, yeast, fungus that will grow into your fuel, and to a point where it will form a biomass and will affect your shipborne equipment, such as filter blocking, fouling some injectors, and even inducing corrosion in your fuel system. Next, please. This is an example of when I was with the Canadian military, or Navy. This is a gas turbine from HMS Huron. And basically there was the fuel was badly contaminated with microbiological growth to a point where biomass material affected and collected around the shroud of the injection system, to a point where it distorted the spray pattern into the combustion chamber of the engine, and basically burned through the engine sidewall, trashing $1 million turbine. These are the type of thing that we want to avoid. If you have microbiological growth, you'll have in your water phase concentration of bacteria, aerobic bacteria, anaerobic bacteria, and some anaerobic bacteria, the sulfite-reducing bacteria, will induce corrosion in your fuel system. And again, this is the type of thing that you want to avoid, and you need to control and prevent by doing some fuel testing. Next, please. So this is samples of fuel that contains water and that displays microbiological growth. So it becomes very much a water management matter as much as a fuel management matter. And the key message here is to prevent microbiological growth into your fuel system. You need to manage water. You need to eliminate water as much as you can, and prevent these bacteria, fungus, and yeast to grow. And especially in hot and humid climates condition, because this is the type of environmental condition that these bacteria and yeast likes to grow in. So next one, please. I think that's my last one. So basically, not only we want to make you aware of this problem for the shipping industry, that you may have contamination and microbiological growth, but we like to bring solution for you. And one of the solutions is basically frequent testing and monitoring of your fuel quality, and how to do that on board ship, which is not obvious. The traditional way is to collect sample, have some retained sample, or send them to a lab and get results in a week or two from now. This is not what we're advocating here. We have a solution for you. And the solution is to basically have a test, a very simple test that is based on immunoassay, which is very much an antibody test that can be used on board by technician and operators without any special training, with minimum sterility issues, and you get results in 10-15 minutes. And this is what we're proposing to you to consider to monitor your fuel quality. And David will talk about the FUELSTAT product, which is the product that I'm talking about here. So thank you very much, and over to you, Dave.
So, as we know, samples for MBG testing need to be treated differently from other fuel specification tests. The ideal solution, of course, would be a test that can be conducted anytime, anywhere, 365 days a year, in port or at sea, ultimately putting you in control and aiding the protection of your assets against the serious issues that MBG can pose. So, we hope and we believe that FUELSTAT may be just a tool to help achieve this and help minimize the impact of MBG from refinery to vessel storage tank to generator. An easy solution, which is easy to use, can be conducted by one person, whether that's in an engine room, dockside, on an offshore platform, or in a fuel terminal, whether they're in Singapore or Alaska. Something which is both trusted and internationally recognized, not only having numerous references in the aviation industry through JIG and IATA, but carries UK stock numbers and complies to an ASTM standard, ASTM D8070, and provides results in minutes, not days, with no need for capital equipment, by simply adding just 4 drops into a well and letting it wait. A test which can digitally transmit the results via a smartphone app with Wi-Fi or data connection to vessel or fuel supply chain stakeholders anywhere in the world, to provide a basis for general asset control and maintenance strategies to take place. The FUELSTAT solution was viewed by Caterpillar as a means of overcoming some of these issues presented, so much so that it gave it a global part number this year, for which we are obviously very proud. Here is an example. A FUELSTAT test can be scheduled and taken prior to a vessel entering port. If the test identifies there is an issue, the remedial maintenance strategies can be arranged and waiting dockside for when the vessel arrives. Vessel turnaround times in port are often very short, and more traditional methods could well have provided results when the vessel has already left port and is actually hundreds of miles at sea. FUELSTAT can help remove the element of good fortune. Here on the screen is simply just some references. It's some examples of people and organizations who already use the FUELSTAT test. For some, it's even a listed or mandatory product. We understand this topic is not the most important issue in the marine industry. Of course it's not. But we hope we have been able to outline a very simple solution to what could be a very expensive problem. But you are not alone on your journey. We are here to help in any way we possibly can, in any capacity. So please do not hesitate to contact us for any information, further support, or even if you just want to look at our handsome faces or talk to us on the phone again. That's fine. It's not an issue. Please, we're here to help and support the industry.
And that sounds amazing.
I thank you very much and stay safe.
Thank you very much for the presentation, David, Pierre. It was nice to have you both here. As you can see right now, the contacts on the screen, it's info@conidia.com. So you could use that email address to get more information from our speakers about Conidia Bioscience solutions and possible service. So right now we have one question to you guys. Your testing system gives results in minutes. Could you please tell how big is margin of error? In other words, how accurate are the results?
Well, I'll start on the technical side of things. Basically, it's an antibody test looking for specific antigens about markers that are fuel degraders. They're basically microorganism that degrades fuel. And this is exactly what this test kit is looking for. And we get results in minutes. And David can expand a little bit on that.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of margin of error, principally, I think it's fair to say we were born out of the aviation industry effectively. So the aviation industry obviously has very, very, very strict and tight controls over fuel regulations and of safety. The aviation industry wouldn't be putting in products which are potentially safety of life products if there wasn't at least a very, very, very high element of quality and understanding. So in terms of margin of error, the only real issues we tend to experience are if the user has potentially not generally carried it out as per the instructions, but we sell over 100,000 tests a year, and we probably only have about 10 instances where there's actually anything wrong. So it's very, very small.
Okay, perfect. Nice to hear that.
So thank you for your answers. Thank you for your presentation as well to both of you, David and Pierre. And I hope that you have a great rest of event. Guys, once again, you can contact this company. You can also find more information about it at www.conidia.com. And thank you once again. And we will have to move on. So goodbye to both of you.
Thank you, and stay
Thank you
safe.
very much.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Enjoy the rest of the conference.